Hey everyone, I'm Danny and welcome to Wizardry Workshop. This video is not a Harry Potter video, but it is another one of my beloved franchises, Back to the Future. I love Back to the Future. All three of them. All three movies are awesome. I don't care what anybody says. I love the trilogy. We're doing this in celebration of Back to the Future releasing on July 3rd, 1985, which was 36 years ago today. Now that is the first Back to the Future movie, and the DIY we're doing here is for the second, something from the second movie, but I don't care. It's all Back to the Future. Be happy about it. We're gonna be making the Grays Sports Almanac.
Grays Sports Almanac.
And Marty bought this in 2015 when he traveled to 2015 and there were flying cars and holographic sharks and pizzas the size of cookies you could just put in your oven, bake for 2 seconds, and they become a gigantic, awesome, delicious looking pizza. If only 2015 had lived up to this movie's perception of what it might be. Anyways, Marty bought this book from a shop in the future called Blast from the Past, and he planned on using this sports statistics book in order to cheat his way into a fortune throughout the years, just making bets and cheating with this book. I'm not gonna go over the whole plot of the movie. You should just go watch it. Back to the Future 2 is probably my favorite of the three. If you're new here, consider subscribing. We do new DIY projects pretty much every week, almost exclusively Harry Potter, but every once in a while I do deviate to other things that I enjoy. If you enjoy this video, give it a like below. In the description box, you're also going to find links to everything that I used, all the supplies I used to make this DIY. Let's get started. First of all, you're going to need the inner pages. I did design the title page, but then everything beyond that comes from an old sports almanac, like a real one that I found a PDF of. I took 50 pages from that one and then I copied them twice, so it's basically the same 50 pages over and over again. So I printed 2 copies of that. So that's what you're gonna wanna do too, or you can do whatever you want with the inside. You just have to make sure that when you measure it, it's thick enough that the spine of the cover fits on it. Anyways, I printed mine on 8.5 by 11 newsprint. To me, this just feels more like an actual almanac that you would find rather than just using plain white paper. So we're going to line these up and we're going to do perfect binding for this. I know I just did perfect binding in my last video too, but I really liked the results and I wanted to try out a magazine. So you are going to want to line them up and clamp them together so that they stay nice and straight. And I'm gonna do it actually, I'm gonna try something different because in my Rita Skeeter perfect binding video, the spine got a little warped. It was a little kind of wavy. So I wanna try and eliminate that. So I've gotten a couple of these. This is just label paper or sticker paper, but I've already used it. So this is just the backing of that. And the side that the stuff sticks to is pretty much, I don't think the glue is gonna stick to this, so I'm gonna actually put that underneath. And then I want this to line up pretty much directly with these pieces of wood. I want it to be like right at the edge of those pieces of wood. I'll take another sheet of that sticker paper, or used sticker paper backing, and put it right on top. And then I'll do my last board right here. And I'm just trying to get it right on the edge. I'm just clamping that book, or the interior pages of that book, between a couple pieces of wood. This is my makeshift book press, and it works, I mean, just fine. We basically just want a clamp at all 4 corners, and if we take a look at it here, the spine should be flush with these boards, and it should be flat as possible. And if your spine is kind of like bowed out or like not completely flat along the edges of the boards there, you can take the clamps off, but hold the boards together, flip it over and kind of like let it loosen up a tiny bit and tap it on your table to get it to line up perfectly with these boards. Next, we just need some PVA adhesive, PVA glue, and this is just regular white glue. So that's how perfect binding is done. There's no stitching, so it's actually a lot easier. And I think it turns out looking really nice and really professional, especially if you're making a magazine or a softback book. You would not do perfect binding on a hardback. That would not work. So you just want to get some glue on your paintbrush and paint it on to the spine here. And if you are as impatient as I am, you can use a heat gun or a hair dryer to dry this glue a little bit faster. And then we can put another coat on. This is coat number 2. And then we can do our third coat. And this one you can do a little bit thicker than the others, but not like, you don't want globs of it on there. Now I'm going to let this sit for maybe a half hour to an hour, probably closer to an hour, and then I'll check it again to see if it's dry. While we wait for that to dry, we can work on the cover. So there are 2 versions of the cover, and you're going to need both. Well, I guess you don't need both, but if you want your replica to be more close to the actual movie prop, you'll need both. This is the file Grays Sports Almanac cover with bleed. And when it says with bleed, that just means that there's some extra printing over all edges so that when you trim it down, you don't have to worry about having any white because you're trimming a little bit into the actual image. This one's printed on 11 by 17 cardstock paper. And then we have this one, and this one is the file Grays Sports Almanac Dust Jacket. So this one is actually printed on some 11 by 17 brochure paper, so it has a little bit of a shine. It's a nice paper, and this is going to be the dust sleeve that goes over it. We can set this aside for now, because for now we just want to work on the cover itself, and we're going to do some scoring. And for this, I have a Cricut scoring tool. I find that this works really well. It's not that expensive. I will link it in the description box. Otherwise, you can use anything that's kind of a blunt tip that's not going to mark on the paper, like maybe a pen, a ballpoint pen that no longer has any ink in it. That could probably work, but I would be worried for it to like actually rip or accidentally mark on something. So I'm definitely using this tool. And then we're going to also need a ruler. And the first score line is going to go right where this gray color meets the red of the spine. And it is as simple as just lining up your ruler and then following along with your scoring tool. And we will flip this over and do the same thing on the other side. This time we're lining up with right here where it says 1950 to 2000, that little black box. We are going to line up with that, and then it should also line up with where this black box stops. Now we also need, if you can see my ruler right here at the top of the screen, we also need another score line, or actually 2 more. So where we made those first ones right along the spine, I'm going to go outside of the spine a little bit from there. We needed about 1/8 of an inch. So my ruler's here. I'm measuring over about 1/8 of an inch from that first score line. And that is where I will add my next scoring line. And we will do that to both sides. Now we just need to fold along those score lines. I love this bone folding tool. It's amazing. So if you don't have one of these, I definitely suggest getting one because you get really good folding lines when you use that. Let those score lines fold this first. And then I'm going to come in and reinforce the fold with my bone folding tool. And that should be the exact size of the spine. So when you're deciding your content to put inside of it, just make sure that it fits perfectly in this much space, basically. And then we just want to put some light folds on those outside the spine fold or score marks that we made. So what I like to do is kind of put the bone folding tool up close to that fold line and just sort of bend it on this side. And we'll do that to both sides as well. I just checked on my spine here, and it's only been sitting for about 20 minutes or so, and it's already pretty much dry. I am gonna just blow dry it a little bit more with my heat gun, but it's pretty much ready to go. If I'm correct about this sticker paper, this used sticker paper will just come right off of it, and it won't actually be glued to this at all. So we'll see. So I'm not 100% right because it is like kind of stuck to it here. I don't want to damage the spine is the thing. So I don't want to like rip this off. I'm going to cut it though with my X-Acto knife. So what I'm doing here is I'm just getting my metal ruler right up next to the spine here. And then I'm going to take my X-Acto knife and just really carefully trim the spine off, or trim the paper off without damaging the spine. That actually worked really well. The spine is way straighter than my last project with the Rita Skeeter book. And it should just fit perfectly in here. I'm going to test it out just to see. And yeah, there you go. You can see it just fits right in there in the cover. Next, we glue the interior in here, and what I'm going to do is mask off the parts I don't want glue on. So that would be these two edges here up to where the score lines are. And I'm just using some more of that used scrap sticker paper or label paper and a couple pieces of masking tape. We just grab some more of our PVA glue and use our brush once more to just put glue on the cover part of the spine. And now we remove the masking from it. Since we put the folds and score marks in there, it should easily just wrap right around our inner pages. Make sure you line up everything. I'm also going to use my bone folding tool just to press down the edges and the spine itself against the cover and the book. Work out any air bubbles that might be in there. You can also open this up just to make sure you didn't get any glue on any of the inside parts of this. Before we do anything else, we need to wait for this to dry, because if we try and cut it too early, it could tear, because while the glue is wet, the paper is also slightly wet. So when you try to cut wet paper, it's not easy. It will rip. While we wait for this to dry, it's almost dry, we can set up the dust jacket, because we're going to be cutting this with it as well. All we're doing is scoring once along those same lines that we did for the actual spine of this book. Now we should be able to just fold it. Now with those folds, it should just wrap around the book like this. But now you might be wondering where we cut when we do this. So there, as I mentioned before, there is bleed around all the edges here, which means you can cut into the printed image a little bit. So if we use a ruler here, what you want to do is cut in about 1/8 of an inch down from where this image starts and 1/8 of an inch up from where this image starts. We'll worry about this side after we do those first two cuts. So I've just marked there and here. I did have to erase that and do it again, but that's okay. After my last video, a lot of people asked about my Guillotine paper cutter, because I was able to cut through a stack of paper like this thick, which was about 500 pages. So this is it. It's by hardwarefactorystore.com. This is HFS paper cutter, and it's a really strong, really nice paper cutter if you want to cut through several pieces of paper, a big stack of paper all at once. So the first thing I want to do is measure how far over from this mark that I made I should be measuring, and it looks like it is 10 5/8. I want to put the dust jacket back on because we're cutting these at the same time so that they're the same exact size. So right there is 10 5/8 over. So now I can lower this part right here. So this crank is actually lowering a piece that's going to hold these pages exactly where they are when I cut. And now we should be able to just cut straight through all these pages. So there it is, a nice clean cut right there. So now we'll do this bottom cut too with the dust jacket on there. And then when it comes to cutting in on this, it's basically going to be right where the edge is on the dust jacket one. So as you can, if you look at it, this one is printed a little bit further out than this one. You just want to measure how far over that is. It looks like it is 6 3/4. Now we can take the dust jacket off because we don't want to cut the ends off the dust jacket. And then we're just going to cut the book itself at 6 3/4 inches. And now you should be left with just the Sports Almanac magazine itself. Now the only thing left to do is fold these inner flaps into the book like a dust jacket should be. And we do want to score those as well. I guess we could have done that earlier, but it really doesn't matter. So now if you put the magazine into the dust jacket, you should be able to fold those white flaps in where those, basically where those score lines are that we just made. And there we have our Grays Sports Almanac from Back to the Future 2. Let me know what you guys think. I think this turned out looking really cool and actually really pretty professional. The perfect binding I am just loving. It's pretty simple to do and it turns out looking really good. And I really am happy that I used this newsprint on the inside instead of plain white paper because it just feels like an actual almanac that you would buy. I really do want to know, let me know in the comment section below, would you travel in time if it were possible? And if so, what would you do? I think the only way I would travel in time is maybe just to look. I wouldn't touch anything. I wouldn't buy a magazine and try and earn a fortune. I would just, out of curiosity, I would just want to look. Like I would go, if I could go back in time, I would go to like prehistoric times, like, and just look and see what the world looked like, see a dinosaur firsthand. Now that would be awesome. As far as traveling into the future, I feel like that would be a little bit dangerous because what if there was some like horrible disaster and everything on the planet is dead and there's no way to escape it? So as soon as your DeLorean goes into the future at that point in time, it just melts away and you die. Sorry, that got a little intense, but that's my fear of going into the future. Honestly, I feel like if anybody did develop a time machine that could go forward or backwards in time, I don't believe it would be able to go back further than when it was made. It kind of makes sense, right? Because how can you go back further than when it was made if it wasn't made yet? So it's kind of, I don't know. I don't think you would be able to go back any further. What do you guys think about that? I'm really interested in like this kind of stuff, this time travel and just these cool conversations. So if you are, let's talk about it in the comments. If you're interested in a chance to win this magazine that I created in this video today, there's a giveaway link in the description box below. Down there, you're also going to find the 70K giveaway for all of the covers I designed for the Harry Potter books for the Accio box. Now, these are no longer in print. Accio has no plans to sell them, no plans to reprint any of them. It was just basically while they were doing those boxes, you could get them, and now you can't unless you buy them from somebody who already has them or enter my giveaway. Along with the covers, I will be shipping out the full set of Harry Potter hardbacks US editions that these covers fit. And that's when I will be announcing the winners when I hit 70K subscribers. And we're about 500 subscribers away at the moment that I'm recording this. So we're almost there. I would say by the time I post the next video next week, or maybe in a couple of weeks, we will have a winner and I will be announcing them in that video. And I also might have some surprise things to talk about in that special 70K video. So yeah, stay tuned for that. But speaking of giveaways, I do have 4 winners to announce in this video right now. The winner of the Star Wars Sabacc deck is Julie Hyatt. The winner of the Magical Me book replica is Jason Moore. The full-size Dumbledore's portrait print goes to Ebba Abdelfadil, and the 3D printed golden snitch goes to Stephanie Mrawik. Congratulations to all of those winners. I am sending each one of you an email with instructions on how you can claim your prizes. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.